So for example, think of all of the like I remember like when we was going to like school in undergrad, like the big thing was, oh, you need to have social media, have a web presence. And there was so many small businesses, like mom and pop shops, that just didn't do it. They had like no digital footprint whatsoever. And for years they'd be like, I don't got time for that. That's young people stuff.
Yeah.
But then when stuff like the pandemic happened, right? It like those businesses who didn't have that digital real estate, didn't have that online presence, were the ones who a lot of times, unfortunately, fell to the wayside.
Yeah.
But those mom and pop shops that did have like some kind of presence online, they thrived, and many times they even like 2x or 3x their presence
Yeah.
beforehand, right? So
And we're back with another episode of Fuck You Money with Ty and Yo. It's my man Ty.
What's happening?
I'm Yo. We got some special guests today. So let my guys introduce themselves to the people.
hey, I'm Mamadou Ndiaye, one of the co-founders of Timbuktoo.
Derek Gauthier, the other co-founder, Timbuktoo.
How y'all know Ty?
Man, so just like introduction. So we have a mentor by the name of David Mahado, and we came down to Atlanta, for a couple of reasons. And he was like, "Oh, you guys are in Atlanta? Like, I need to connect you to my guy Ty." And Ty, he was so gracious enough, like through this introduction, to just open up the door to come in and say, "Fuck you, money." So we're here. You both have been like really gracious so far, like just great energy, and we're really excited for this conversation.
Likewise.
Dope. Can you break down to the audience, because we're going to get into a bunch of different things, but I want them to understand what Timbuktoo is, what it means to you all, and the overall journey or the goals or even the milestones that you hope to achieve through your venture.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can kick us off. Like essentially, Timbuktu is a trusted digital marketplace that allows for both artists and collectors to really build wealth with their art collection. And we do this in a couple of ways with our DCA technology that leverages both AI and smart contracts to first establish and prove the authenticity of the artwork. Second, grant royalties to artists on the resale value. And third, allow for the collectors to really track the value of their art collection over the long term.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times, you walk into anybody's home, there's art that's on that wall, right? But how many people know the value of that artwork, right? And how many people know what to do with the artwork that is valuable that's sitting on that wall?
Yep.
Right.
So really our mission is, to help people understand that value, but also give them tools and ways to, really use that. And of course, financially, in other ways that, probably even we haven't even thought of yet. So, yeah, I think getting to your question about what it means to us, I think that kind of goes back to our origin story a little bit. We didn't come together for this specifically.
Yep.
We actually came together on a mission to like connect the African diaspora, you know what I'm saying? Real like far out there, just like we want to do this thing. I think through that, we realized that one of the most powerful things that we have as people is our culture. And figuring out a way to use technology to, empower and really just elevate what we've already done. And I think that's led us to this, and that's why it means so much to us. Is it's a way for us to protect and preserve our culture, but then also elevate and amplify it.
Right. So walk us through, before we dive into this conversation, walk us through your background, because it's always interesting with entrepreneurs that's bootstrapping a business. Then when you get actually investors, and the investors, they're really believing in not only the idea, but they're believing in you, right?
Absolutely.
And then so they're diving into your background. They're trying to figure out your personality. Like, are you suitable to even be able to run this business? So walk us through your background, because one of the things that's important that we always want to like touch on with leveraging is our skill set as humans
Right.
It's very multifaceted, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can go to school for this, but then launch a business for this.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to connect with one another. So I'd love for you all to dive into like your background on what you thought you was going to be doing when you went through school. And then like now, obviously we know you're here, but it would be great for the audience to know that.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say that because when I went to college, I was like, man, I want to be a politician. Like,
Oh, wow.
that was on my mind. So, graduated from Notre Dame. Went there. It's not a traditional art school.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But went there. That's, they have a big business school, especially undergrad, number one for years. And so really me getting into business was just kind of the chatter in my head, like, oh, you want to do that? You should get into business. You do business, yada, yada, yada. So decided to do that. Still, didn't really think art. And, funny enough, it wasn't, I think for a lot of people, right, school is not cut and dry. It's not 4 years and I'm done.
Right.
So I ended up, getting in a situation where I actually got kicked out of school.
So,
And in that time, started doing actually some entertainment, music management. Kind of went down that route, got back into school by the grace of God, finished. And it's kind of ended how I ended up in the startup world, just getting that experience. I was like, I want to do my own thing.
Right.
And so, after got into a program where actually me and him met called Mentorship for America. And so that program was focused on entrepreneurship, and really giving you a community of people who also want to be entrepreneurs and start businesses. So, a lot of people that we have in our network are also people who are trying to build businesses, people we could lean on for game and things like that. And so from there, it's still, kind of just, it's not a straight path, right?
Right.
Did that for a while.
How many students were in the program with you guys?
Oh man, like in our class specifically, like 180 to
I'm about to
200.
say about
Almost
200
Yeah.
That's a
people.
nice side class.
Yeah, man. I spent a month in the D in Detroit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just learning about the startup game because it's different than just running a small business. You know what I'm saying? A whole different world when you talk about startups.
Yep.
So that was dope. Worked at a startup for a minute back out in Cleveland. And then actually ended up somehow, some way getting the local government. I worked in insurance for a minute. And then most recently did like federal government contracting, doing IT technology. So it hasn't been a straight path, in between that time, we also been working on our business.
Yep.
But yeah, that's a little bit on my side, my background.
Right. You from New Orleans?
From New Orleans, yeah.
Okay.
From New Orleans. From New Orleans. Yeah. Born and raised, New Orleans 504.
Yeah.
We gonna
One of my
always
clients
ride,
on the NFL side play for the Buccaneers. He from New Orleans.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we represent, man. We get out and do big things for sure.
What I was saying.
So, yeah.
What about you?
So not from New Orleans, but but yeah, I'm from Maryland, Prince George's County, Maryland, and
Okay. PG.
yeah, PG in the house. We out here, and like with my background, so I'm first generation American, right? My father originally being from Senegal, my mom being from Burkina Faso. However, I grew up with my stepdad who's African American, and so growing up in like that household of like both sides of the diaspora was like very enlightening for me, right? And my mom, she's like a lot of inspiration for me because like, grew up in Burkina, you know, low income country, grew up in poverty, didn't have the opportunity to even get her high school education because, in a lot of these countries back there, education isn't like free, like how it is here. Like you have to pay a tuition. And so despite all that, she came to this country not knowing any English and became a business owner, right? So Mimi's African Hair Braiding out in Temple Hills, Maryland. If you're out there, definitely get your hair done. But yes, so I've seen her personal journey of working for someone else, working in like the basement in our house, like braiding people's hair, to like opening up her own salon, to like having two stores, to like downsizing to one, like that entire entrepreneurial journey.
Right.
And more importantly than her being able to like create a business, is the fact that she was able to create like an impact for so many women from across West Africa. So what it is, they're from Nigeria, Guinea, Burkina, Mali, Senegal, Gambia. Like they all were able to like use her establishment as like a launch pad to transition in over to the US. And so that entire experience like really left a huge impact on me in terms of like what I wanted to do, right? So I always had this idea of, like I never really had an idea of like I want to work for this company. It was more so of like I want to be able to like be a part of a solution to ensure that other people within the diaspora, specific like Black people from all over, have the ability to like grow into their own businesses, because that's where the true transformation occurs when you have like a business that you own, right?
Right.
And so having that mindset, I went to college, got my bachelor's in business administration with a focus in IT, because I knew like technology is like really important. And right afterwards, I did my master's of international development in the University of Pittsburgh because of this idea of like, impacting the diaspora in like a global economic standpoint, right? And so after grad school, I had like all these experiences where, I've done like internships in like the private sector, sit on like boards of a nonprofit. I'm still working on that board to this day, and working in like governmental internships. And I was like, man, like I've seen all these sectors. Business is where it's at, because you can just move fast. There's like this ability to be self-sufficient and whatnot. So learn about the same program that Derek talked about, and that's where we met. And we just had so many commonalities around how can we ensure that our culture and our community can protect our intellectual property when it comes to those cultural assets that we create. And we have a technology solution that makes this scalable, right? And so that led to this whole journey. At first, we was called like Relink. We was trying to be like this whole B2B e-commerce platform, like Alibaba for Africa was our viewpoint.
Right.
Ain't never worked in like supply chain or whatever before. But we was like, shoot, we're gonna do it. We're gonna take over.
Ship this shit.
Right. Man, fuck your money. Like,
And Relink was first.
Yeah, Relink was first.
Okay. What year did you guys start Relink?
So we worked on the idea in 2018 when we met, but we officially formed a business entity for that in 2019.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so it was cool. We definitely learned a lot, but like going back to what we was even saying off camera, like just the failures is what like really teach you more than anything else, right?
Yeah.
And we got to a point where it was like 2022. So we started in 2019. It's 2022. Didn't really get enough traction to justify keeping it going. So we knew we had to make some sort of pivot. And Derek, he was instrumental because he got into art collecting. And I'll let you tell that part of the story, because that's like your portion.
Oh man, yeah. It's funny, the way that I got into art collecting is actually by way of my wife. And women, they always got that eye, man. They see something, and she was like, I gotta have this. And I was like, I don't know if I can buy it.
Now, did you think it was expensive, or did you think it was just different?
I was just like, for what? Like, but nah, when she was like, hey, like, do you see this art? Like, I think I'm gonna buy it. Like, I see it. Kind of joking of like, for what? But it's the artist Patrick Henry. He actually be down here this weekend with us. Man, seeing his pieces, I was like, yeah, you might be right. You know what I'm saying? Like, this might be something that's a good investment. And it really wasn't that expensive. We paid probably about $450 for it. And so, through that conversation, I was just talking to him, and really recently, like he was saying, we hadn't had a lot of luck with our business. So I had recently started just looking at blockchain as a solution, more so on the supply chain side. I was trying to figure out with our business what we could do with it.
Right.
But of course, you start hearing about like the NFTs, you start hearing about all these different things. So I asked him, I was like, you're doing art. Have you ever thought about NFT? He told me, he was like, hey man, I do this. You know what I'm saying? This is what I do. I'm not good with no. He's originally from Jamaica. He came here. He's been there 20, 25 years doing this art thing. He's like, man, I make art. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know nothing about no computers. Still to this day, we try to email him. It's like pulling teeth.
That's hilarious.
And so he was like, this is what I do. And I think in that moment it kind of clicked, right? Like you got this art world, of course, NFTs are hot. You got this technology that is really, it's just technology that's helping artists make more money.
Right.
But 97% of a $68 billion market is physical products.
Right.
It's physical art.
Right.
There's opportunity there.
Right.
And I think that's really where Timbuktoo was born, out of that conversation of, hey, there's a way we can really impact, what I'm saying, this person that I'm a fan of, you know what I'm saying?
What year was this?
This was 2022.
2022.
Oh, 2022.
So it's been 2 years since that experience.
Yep.
Yeah.
And how was the journey from that point to here?
Man, it was like night and day in terms of like the amount of traction and progress from Relink to Timbuktu. So like from 2022 to this moment, right? Like, we got into like really like understanding the fine art space and, was able to make so many relationships with like different galleries and whatnot. But one thing that was like very impactful for us and just like a tidbit for like entrepreneurs who are like in the startup space was we got into our first accelerator. So this was actually with Bank of America, right? We was in the second cohort of their Breakthrough Lab accelerator, which focuses on like, fintech and different tech-enabled startups founded by like founders of color, right? And it's like the program has grown drastically like since then. But it was funny because we was actually at a conference, shout out to like Black Women Talk Tech. We snuck in, we put on some wigs and whatnot. But
Chinese was canceled already.
I'm a huge jokester. So like we was, Derek and I, we was just speaking with like the Bank of America team. We was like, well, we're trying to do this innovative thing with like tech. Banks aren't necessarily known for being like fast paced and innovative, but like the team was like very impressed with like what we was trying to accomplish and like our use case and whatnot. And what was actually really dope was we met with a person of their first cohort by the name of Leslie Lewis. And if you don't know, she's the daughter of Reginald Lewis. So that book, Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun? Like he was the first Black business billionaire, like had owned like $1 billion type company just through like mergers and acquisitions. So just that moment. And like
you had just recently read that book.
Yeah, I had just the book. I was like, oh, word, is that your dad? And then she was like, yeah. And
Crazy how that type of stuff happened.
that's crazy, super crazy. And it was just like a very surreal moment. And then he was like, you know what? Let's just apply and see what happens. And we got in. And during that 6 months, it really helped accelerate just our trajectory. Because one of the biggest benefits for a lot of these accelerators, you learn stuff, like you have classes, you have people who come in and say, you need to learn how to market, you need to do your operations, right? These different experts who are like very valuable. But what's really most beneficial is just like the network, the introductions, being able to get into rooms that you could never have been afforded prior to. And so did that for 6 months, and we got to a point where we had like an MVP, like a minimum viable product. I like to call it a good enough product to put it out there. Good enough
now.
Good enough
Talk about being good enough.
Exactly. And like from there, like we like just so much momentum because after that we got into like 2 more accelerators, like one with like Venture for America, which like which actually came at like the perfect time because one thing I didn't mention in terms was like my professional experience. Like after school, where we was like working on Relink, I was working for a company for around like 5 years in like operations capacity, and they was doing like data for like insurance companies and whatnot. But last year, I was actually laid off, right? And it came at like literally the worst time because I remember like that May of last year, I had to evict. I had to start the eviction process for my tenants because I had a duplex. They just trashed my place and was not paying rent. And then it's not like down south when you can just kick folks out like real quick. It took like 3 months, right? So like after that was done, so I'm losing income there. And then I got laid off unexpectedly, and like so for like the whole year, it's not until a couple months ago I didn't even have a salary, right? But I was still like working on Timbuktu, full time, door dashing, just just hustling, right?
Right.
But despite all of those challenges, like still like kept still really believed in what we was doing because there was traction that was happening.
You
So
saw it.
yeah, got into Venture for America, did another program called Generator. It was cool. All those programs because of like the introductions, but we was like, yo, we're not doing no more programs unless there's some money because they weren't giving us money.
Well, that's money.
Where's that FU money, man? Like, so, but what was amazing was like Philly Tech Week happened, right?
Yeah.
And then one of our good friends, her name is McCall, she was in the Bank of America cohort with us. And she has a dope company called Wealth More that's like, it's another platform that like help us like build wealth and whatnot. But she was in this program called TXO, Talent Opportunity, with under A16Z or Andreessen Horowitz, which is a tier 1 like venture capital firm, right? Like we was talking about big 3, like they're big 3 for real, for real.
Another book full circle. When graduated, my girlfriend at the time, now wife, the first book she bought me was The Hard Things About the Hard Things by you know what I'm saying, Ben Horowitz. Like I was just like, whoa, how does even So those books, man, I don't know if it's a little manifestation tool or something, or I don't know.
Listen, failures are the footstools for success. It ain't no other way you're gonna even get around it. You're not even gonna be able to maintain success if you don't have those type of experiences. I would tell people from a management perspective, I probably managed 20 artists between songwriters, producers, and artists before I actually met Brent.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So like but you learn so much. And obviously not only do you learn much, you start to see things differently.
Yeah.
Every time you fail, when you look around the next time, you're seeing things different. Every program, it took programs like, no, I need some money now.
Right.
Yeah.
But take 3 of them before you even realize.
You still took away what you could get from it, but eventually you start to realize like, wait a minute, we got to find something that's going to actually, because I got to afford to go to these programs, right? So I got to be able to get something from it so that we can grow the business. Yes, it's great meeting people, which is 50% of it, right? Meeting people is 50% of it. And then the other 50% is who is going to invest during a time frame where the economy is shaky. So people are really tight. So if somebody giving you money to invest to your business, not only do they believe in you, they really think that you have something.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And no, go ahead.
I was just, gonna say it's just not a overnight thing. Just like you said, it was a lot of failures. I mean, 2023, man, we did everything under the sun. We
had 12 activations or events all across the country.
No money. We doing this out of pocket.
Bootstrap.
You know what I'm saying? We in his car driving to Cleveland, get there. Nobody show up to the event. You know what I'm saying? Drive 12 hours back to Philly the next day. You know what I'm saying? We did all type of things. Did our Basel. We was, supposed to partner with somebody with it, was trying to figure it out. It was like, man, we not doing this no more. Shout out to Mamadou. He was like, I'm about to just get on the phone, start calling people, figured out a venue situation. This is like October last year. He was like, okay, I guess we're going to do it. We had like 6, 7 artists we was going to bring down. Like half of them was like, I'm not coming or wasn't responding. Some of them didn't tell us to like the week of, like, I'm not coming no more. We had an artist that was in another event. So like, it was just all type of stuff that just like, it wasn't, cut and dry, just like, we seeing success, or even right now, like us being, where we are right now isn't just somehow we ended up here.
Right.
You said it was a lot of failures before.
Yeah.
And work.
Yeah.
That's what people don't understand through failure. You have to actually work to fail. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you can fail by not doing nothing.
Yeah.
But there's a certain level of how you feel something when you work really, really hard and then you fail. One of the things that I'm curious on you all talking about is what is the opportunity with AI specifically when it comes to the Black community, the African community?
Yeah.
What is the wealth opportunity from, because you all believe in it because you're building a business around it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're saying best practices or things you should really be thinking about when it comes to AI and the technology around blockchain, what are you telling your mom, your brother, your sister, like people that you actually have been to school with that are just like, man, I don't know about that technology thing, man.
Yeah.
What are you saying to them when it pertains to building wealth?
Man, like the first thing I say to like everybody, because it's quite funny, like whenever new ways of technology and innovations come out, like it's two responses from people. Either like extreme excitement and maybe even like an overestimation of the impact at that appropriate stage, or it's straight up fear, like, man, this is something to like avoid, it's evil, blah blah blah. Like essentially technology is simply just a tool, right? And the reality is, with all of this innovative technology, like it's going to come. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, right? Like it's already here. AI is already here. I mean, it's been here technically for decades, but we didn't really know. But like you have two choices: either learn how to like incorporate it within your daily life and like find ways to like help improve whatever it is that you're doing, or just not do it at all and suffer the consequences of being left behind. So, for example, think of all of the like I remember like when we was going to like school in undergrad, like the big thing was, oh, you need to have social media, have a web presence. And there was so many small businesses, like mom and pop shops, that just didn't do it. They had like no digital footprint whatsoever. And for years they'd be like, I don't got time for that. That's young people stuff. But then when stuff like the pandemic happened, right? It like those businesses who didn't have that digital real estate, didn't have that online presence, were the ones who a lot of times, unfortunately, fell to the wayside.
Yeah.
But those mom and pop shops that did have like some kind of presence online, they thrived, and many times they even like 2x or 3x their presence beforehand, right? So all that to say, like in terms of like the wealth opportunity, we're at a point right now, a critical juncture, where many industries, a lot of them which have been like very antiquated, very old processes, old way of doing things, are being radically changed because of this introduction of technology. And if you are somebody who has the foresight and just the time it takes just to like learn the technology, I'm not saying become like an engineer or a tech wizard, because if I ask you, how does the internet work? You're not going to say it's an interconnected network of softwares. And no, you're going to be like, listen, I I connect to that Wi-Fi. I took in Google about Google, and I make some money.
You make a great point.
Yeah.
And I would say to add to that, because I think that's a great point that you made as well. And I think another piece of it, you said something about, oh, that's a young person's game.
Yeah.
A lot of times it is. And a lot of times young people are looking for ways to apply it and learn. And
solve
so,
problems.
so don't be afraid to ask your little cousin or ask your son or daughter, or, maybe, a kid you see around the way, it's in high school, college. Hey, I've seen this thing. Do you want to work with me? I give you a little internship, but whatever you could do for them, and give them that opportunity. And like you said, on the wealth building front, they might find ways where you can, make more money, save on something. You know what I'm saying? And they might teach you something too.
And there's a real gem with what you just said too. Like, I believe there's a lot of opportunity, especially within the Black community, for that intergenerational dialogue. Because a lot of times, you know how it is. Like whether you're from Africa, you're from here, the Caribbean, a lot of times we have like a very strict type culture where like young people are told to be seen but not heard. Right.
Yeah.
And so you taking the time just to like say like, hey, can you teach me this thing? Like that young person probably won't be annoyed. They'll probably be very excited just to like have the opportunity to showcase their knowledge, their skill set, and to teach you something instead of always being told to sit back, be quiet, and listen. So
even just the opportunity at times is impactful. I remember I was back home for the summer. I was working at a cigar shop, but I was cool with the owner. He was like, "Hey man, like I heard about this app thing. I know you're in IT. You want to like build me an app or something?" I didn't know how to code or do nothing. I was like, "Nah, I'm cool." But it got me thinking, like, what if I did?
Right.
How could I make him an app?
Right.
Like, I didn't even jump on the opportunity, but I think it also motivated and shaped me to like, all right, this is maybe something I should explore as a 19-year-old kid just trying to make a little money for the summer.
One of the things that I tell people about AI is like similar to your thought process. I'm like, don't think about trying to learn AI because if you think too deeply about it, you go into the abyss. You're like, well, how did the world, how do they prompt so fast? Like you just don't try to learn that. Think about it like the bottle caps for the Coca-Cola or for the Pepsi. Is there a business that you can build around AI? Is there a bottle cap that you can own and control in a market? And so for me, I'm looking at AI as a way to build businesses faster. Right? I'm like, okay, if I can use AI, I can build this business faster. It'll give me more value on my business. I don't have to hire as many people, right? Yes, it's taking jobs away from people, but it's giving me more of a opportunity to build a legacy for a family that can go out and build and do other things, right? So it's taking away jobs today.
Right.
But if we use it to build wealth, it builds longevity in the future, right? And so I'm constantly thinking about the tide, the rim spoke, or the little whatever I can't think of the thing that you use to put air in your tire. That little part. I'm thinking about that.
That's
part
crazy.
Of the business,
it's such a
right?
tiny piece too.
It's a tiny piece. It's almost like the cords that you charge your phone up with. Like instead of trying to start a phone company, let me see if I can start a charging company.
Can I get some charge?
And so we're thinking about the thought process. I just recently invested into this company called Delphi, where it's digital clones, right? And their thought process is, if you are an influencer, if you're a speaker, if you're anybody of any level of influence, it's hard to maintain and respond to everybody. So build a digital clone, train it to be you as a representative online, and let people talk to that. And it's going to give you the same exact answer that you're going to give because you pretty much trained it. And I'm like, this shit is fire.
We need that.
I'm talking to my mentor, and I'm telling them, I sent them the video I sent you in V, where they got the digital clone, where the guy was on the news, the founder, he was on the news talking, and they had his digital clone, and they had the news lady, and the digital clone is answering the questions.
Wow.
So my mentor, I was telling y'all about Troy, because I sent him when I first seen him. He was like, yo, this is crazy. I'm gonna get my digital clone made right now. He was like, you gotta show me this shit. Same thing, like he's probably like 15 years older than me or 12 years older than me. He's like, man, you gotta kind of show me this. I'm like, I haven't even really checked on my digital clone because you gotta upload the footage.
Right.
V helped me with the footage. And then it takes 6 to 7 hours. So I'm gonna go check the microwave to see if I did. You know what I'm saying? Sick that thing on me.
The crazy part is Ty was so excited, but if you looked at the comments on YouTube, people like the world is ending. Like everyone looks at this video like it's predicting a evil future and not something where people are gonna be more productive, or because the clone looked just like them. You couldn't tell the separation between the people.
Wow.
But I want to ask you guys, if there was no AI, if technology did not evolve, how would your business exist? Would it exist?
Yeah. I think it would.
You think so?
I think it would, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, businesses are born out of problems, right? And finding solutions. And that's all we did. You know what I'm saying? This wasn't, we had some ideas of what we wanted to do, but we landed on the solution and we're still building the solution based off the problems that's in the market.
Yep.
You know, you go talk to artists. I mean, we're doing fine art, but you could talk to artists from many different, you know what I'm saying, industry sectors. They're facing similar problems, right? You know, when you talk about royalties, when you talk about just dealing with the current establishment, the way things are built. You know, when you talk about people who even digest or buy and you know what I'm saying, that use that art and are part of that art and culture, you know, they don't fully understand it. You know what I'm saying? And there's so many different ways that it can be used that I think that, you know, even if there wasn't an AI, if there wasn't a blockchain, that there's still this space, you know, there's this little nook and cranny where you can kind of get in and say, hey, I can help you get to that next level. I can help you solve this problem.
Yeah. That the problem is there regardless.
Right.
Yep.
And the overall problem is artists will create an IP, sell it for X amount of dollars, and then over the span of 20 years, it will be resold and the value will keep increasing. And the artists don't really get nothing from that value increase, right?
Exactly.
But you know who else doesn't either? The people that have participated in that art and culture.
Right.
You know, and I think that's another piece of it is when you talk about collecting art, right? And we talk about just being a part of that art and culture, that appreciates, you know, and it's just because you were there. It's because other people were there. It's because of the whole community at hand.
You're right.
That's what drives the value, right?
Exactly. And I think, you know, when we talk about some of the new technology, we can definitely focus on the artists, but I think also a solution for the community.
Yeah,
you know, and just getting everybody involved. So there's another piece of it as you were talking. Comes to mind.
I think it's important to demonstrate that although Timbuktoo is artist focused at the moment, there is a solution for community, right?
Yep.
So you think about like a lot of the foundations that are artists donated to the foundation, right? Now, you know, art can be where it's at and you can donate the actual revenue, the contract to the foundation. So now the foundation don't have to figure out how to monetize the art. They are already going to be able to monetize it because they have a built-in stake in the growth of that overall art piece. So now you get into how this company can be a solution to help build wealth within the community, because now you can leave IP in a certain place, and as it becomes popular, because the community is buying it, the community is saying, "Yo, these 10 pieces, the community has bought it," and the people that own it create this hype around it and this value around it because they're the curators, and they're like, "This is next." The next thing you know, the next person is buying it because Swiss Beats said, "I got this. This was going to be a Hove said, or Barack Obama, or whoever these different art collectors are in the community." And they're driving the value of it, and everybody can participate. And that's what our community really miss. And I think the reason why AI is so important and blockchain is so important is because it gives everybody the opportunity to participate in a windfall without having to be super knowledgeable or having to be you know, coming from a family of startups or all of the different things. It can give the everyday person the thing. It's a quick story. I was in my cousin came down to Miami, right? And I wasn't there, but I flew in a few days later, and we was gonna go golf on Sunday. And we was sitting down, we was talking about stocks. And I was like talking about things, and he was like, "Yeah, man, that NVIDIA." And I was like, "NVIDIA? How you know about NVIDIA?" Right. Older than me. He was like, "I was on Instagram and is it called a trapper?
Wall Street Trapper.
Wall Street Trapper
Shout out
said something
504.
about NVIDIA a year ago."
Yeah.
He said, "So I just bought a bunch of the stock." I said, "Motherfucker, I wish you'd have called me." Right.
You let me know.
And I was so impressed that he knew about NVIDIA.
Yeah.
Because I use AI every day for the past 18 months to this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter that I know about NVIDIA a year ago and he did showed me how impactful sharing information is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It showed me how impactful being on social media is.
Yep.
Because he don't have a lot of followers on social media.
Right.
I think he probably bought a class, was trying to learn something. And I was just like, I just couldn't get out the fact that why you didn't tell me,
even know.
telling other people about this. Like, you should have called me.
Right.
But it just speaks towards, he was like, the only thing I would have changed differently is I would have invested straight through the stock market. He invested through his 401k.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So he's just like, regardless, I would have been able to pull some of that windfall off, but he's in such a great position. He's like, because it just means I can retire faster.
Right.
That's like, he's like, it just means I can retire faster. Because that stock is going to be the blue chip AI stock. It is going to be the Microsoft. It is going to be the Apple. It is what it is, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that he was in so early is like, if that stock I think he said he bought the stock for like $25, $50, something like that. And if that stock goes to $2,000, $3,000 over the next 2-3 years, he's ridden his retirement to be early just based off of being on social media.
Man.
Just on Instagram.
Man. And you brought up a great point, like just that need for the sharing the information, that education, because, unfortunately, like within our community, a lot of times this information that other communities have been privy to when it comes to things of like wealth building, we're just getting used to it like for the very first time. Like it's only within like recent years when I feel like I've been seeing more Black folk just talking more and more about like real estate, stocks, what have you. And that's where we see the opportunity in coming in and helping to continue in the elevation of our culture with just like that knowledge on why it's important to collect art. Because there's so many reasons, right? It's not just that pieces like these that we have here in the show.
You know what I'm saying?
Isn't right.
What's the name of the artist?
So the artist's name is Akasa.
Okay.
He's from I'm really partial to him because he's originally from Senegal. Like and and he's based out in Harlem, and he's been one of the artists that's been an amazing partner on the Timbuktoo platform. So during this time where we're here in Atlanta for InvestFest, we're just like bringing some of his pieces, his smaller pieces, as like our collection starter series. So people can like get into art collecting. But nonetheless, like art collecting is so important because one, it's not just because it's aesthetically pleasing, like, oh, this is beautiful and all that, right? One, it helps to capture culture, right? It helps to preserve and document our stories and to like really give a different form of education to the generation that's after us.
Yeah.
Another reason is art is essentially like real estate, right? Like the ways in which we know that how homes can appreciate in value, and you can maybe flip a home because you bought it for like 100K and it appreciated to 250 and you can get some of that profit, or you can use it as collateral to receive financing. You can do the exact same thing with fine art. Like art is actually classified as an alternative asset. So alternative to like your real estate or to your NVIDIA stocks or what have you. And so it's very crucial for us as a culture, as a community, to make this the next wave of investments to get into. Because what's funny is oftentimes we'll buy the watches, we'll buy the jewelry, we'll buy the shoes and the cars, and we think that's attainable and affordable. But for whatever reason, we think buying original pieces of fine art is so out there. Like you have to be like a multi-millionaire and all that. No, you can get your first piece of original art for under $100. Right. That one piece may not make you rich, but if you continue to like elevate and go along this art collecting journey, before you know it, you can have a portfolio of artwork that's like not only beautiful and it speaks to you and it speaks to the culture, but it's worth something as well. It can help you build wealth. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create really a movement in which we elevate the culture into understanding that collecting art is attainable and it's something that we have to do.
Yeah. You know, it's crazy. My mentor told me he bought an art piece for 10 grand and he said now it's valued at a quarter of $250,000.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I was just like, what? Like, the
Yeah.
thing about it, like, I've had such an interesting life where these different technology things, that's why I don't let no technology shit slip by me at this point in my life.
Yeah, I feel that.
I remember being in LA, we worked with an artist named Pablo Dillon. His grandfather's Bob Dylan. I co-managed him with a white gentleman named Chad. Chad is the type of person that you love Chad, but you don't really want to take financial advice from Chad. Chad came to me, he said, Ty, this is like 2017. He said, Ty, give me $10,000, $10,000 to $30,000, and I'm gonna put it in Bitcoin, and you're gonna make a lot of money. I was like, man,
get on my face.
Then he went to my man,
Give him 10,000.
And he said the exact same thing to Herb. Herb told him the same thing I did, but the thing that Herb did a little different. Herb said, why would I give you the money? I just go do it myself. So Herb went and put $10,000 into Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin.
Oh, man.
In 2017. That shit fucking blew up over the next like year and a half. And I was in this bitch. I was like, Herb, what? He was like, yeah, bro, like, I'm up. And I was just so like, fucking Chad was right. But that's the danger between when you are someone where people might not look at you as like a financial expert or investment expert.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is crazy. So anything to do with AI, blockchain, I'm so invested into everything.
Yeah.
Forward thinking. If it's forward thinking, I'm trying to put some fucking money into it because I've seen the future. I've seen the past through the future. And so now we're talking about when he purchased Bitcoin in 2017, it was $1,000. You know what I'm saying? He took that $10,000 and he bought 10 Bitcoins. Today,
multi-million.
That fucking it doesn't even the ROI on that is nuts.
Crazy,
right?
Yeah.
And
he ain't had to do nothing. He was blowing.
And it was on a whim. Just said, hey, give me $10,000.
Shout out to Chad, man.
Coinbase was active then because you could buy through Coinbase. It made it easier to buy.
Yeah.
And I was just like, and I had the money. It wasn't like I didn't have the money. I didn't have like a lot of money, but I could have made a random $10,000 investment to just be able to be in the game.
Right.
And then let that bitch sit in a cold safe or cold, wallet or something like that.
Yeah.
But like that changed my mind because I was so focused on the music business and that IP.
Yeah.
And I was putting so much into that IP, and it was so many moving pieces going on at that time. I'm like, man, I ain't got time to be giving you no money to fuck. I can fuck some money up, but you're not gonna fuck. And
definitely not.
It speaks to what you're talking about is like, it is a must that we protect the music IP, the publishing IP, the art IP, because we do it the best.
Absolutely.
We do it the best. We do the best at manipulating the less to have value for it to be more in the future. And if we don't do that, you ain't gonna get no fucking money.
Yeah. Trying to get no fucking got looks on.
But I really, I know this was a last minute, conversation. I know you all are in town. Me and Yo are super appreciative coming in town. I know y'all are already here for Invest Fest. Troy and Rashad, they're doing an incredible thing here.
Absolutely.
We're super grateful for those type of opportunities because people have started businesses at Invest Fest, and a year later, they have like something to show for it. So I think you all are gonna have an amazing experience at Invest Fest. Thank you for coming and kick it in.
Yeah. Can I get one question? One more? First time people just want to get into startups, what would your advice be to them? If people they have no real knowledge, but they watch this episode and they're inspired, what would be some advice you would give some people?
Yeah. I'll let you start with it.
Oh, man. One piece of advice? Because I got a whole list of things. Man,
but just a piece.
Okay. As cliche as it may sound, because everybody says it, it's very, very true. Like, you got to make sure your mindset is absolutely on point because no matter how well you got shit set up or what have you, you're going to go through your trials and tribulation. So for me, like, and you remember this as well. Like when we were starting in like 2018, 2019, I was like, yo, man, I gotta get into like real estate. I'm gonna like get in a duplex and house hack. That way, like as I'm working my job and I'm getting my savings up, I'll always have like a stream of income coming in. And then what did I say happened at the beginning of the episode?
Yeah.
I went through an eviction, place got towed up, and I got laid off.
Yeah.
Right. But then, and that was my springboard into like being full time. Right. And just going through those financial difficulties. But like for me, like my mindset was really on point just because of like my faith. So like, I'm Muslim. So like I pray 5 times a day, like every day. And I always have this mindset. And I know like everything happens for a reason. And you have to go through your struggle error, because if not, your story won't be inspirational to the next one behind you, right? So your mindset has to be on point. 2, like you definitely have to have like good counsel with like mentors, advisors, what have you,
Even
friends as well, people who actually been through this and can like give you plenty of game. Some tangible ways in which you can like meet these people is like just networking. Like find what are the like small business or startup networking events in your local area, and just connect with people, learn from them. Like people love to tell their stories, right? So if you give them an opportunity to tell them about themselves and just like learn, and you're like somebody who demonstrates you have a lot of value to bring and you have that potential, before you know it, like one simple coffee conversation can go to you're under that person's wing now, right? So like that's another thing. Definitely find there's so many free resources. Like we was fortunate enough to get into like business accelerators, but like there's like programs like SCORE under the Small Business Administration, which is completely free. I mean, our taxes pay for it, so like it can't be that free. But like they literally have an entire network of just like business experts who can like give you different insights in terms of like marketing, sales, operations, what have you. So that's that. And finally, because I know I'm rambling, just make sure that the content that you're consuming is elevating you in terms of the type of founder that you want to be, right? So if you have like a skill set, like you're great at like relationships and like talking to people, like listen to those sales podcasts, stay out the shade room as much. Shout out to the shade room. But,
Shout out to the shade room.
right. But, make sure that you're like once a day, even if it's for like 30 minutes, you're listening to podcasts like Fuck You Money because of the types of gems that you get. Like there's been so many times when I watch podcasts and it's like people in like totally different industries, but I got ideas from that like directly benefited our business.
Yeah.
So if you're just like very cognizant of the type of content that you're consuming on a daily basis, all of those things are going to like help elevate you in terms of being a startup founder.
100%.
I should went first because I don't know how I'm following.
Yeah.
But I'll keep it simple. Start with the why.
Yep.
Find the problem and trust the journey.
1,000%.
I think that's just a testament to what we've kind of gone through. As we started with our why, we wanted to do this thing. We went through a list of problems. When we landed on Relink, our first business, that wasn't even our first idea. You know what I'm saying? So we, find a problem that you want to get into, and then trust the journey. You know what I'm saying? It's never going to be straightforward. Don't fall too in love with like what you built. Somebody might say and be like, I don't need that shit. Like, what I need that for? I mean, even still to this day, we're still constantly iterating, but we're trusting the journey. And I think it's been something beautiful just because not only the business, but also the people we get to meet. You know what I'm saying? It's been a beautiful journey. So yeah, start with the why, find the problem, and trust the journey.
Yeah. Solid advice.
And that is another episode of Fuck You Money with Ty and Yo. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for joining us in that incredible conversation.
Appreciate you guys.
Go check out Timbuktoo. Get you some art. Start your collection.
TIMBUCKTOO.com.
There you go.
Check us out.